Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode 511 for the week of, well, this is one of our Sunday recordings, Sunday, August 8th, 2021. My name is Ryan Higgins. We have a extra special squad of people here. Maybe we'll all make it out alive. Probably not, though. Who is here this week?
Brock Sager.
Kevin.
And Charlie.
Also, a couple of very special guests back for the first time in a while. Scott. Hello.
Well, I wasn't sure. I mean, Gage finally returned from his death match.
Spoiler.
So,
Well, Scott's here.
yeah, Scott's here.
Scott, say hello. And
Hello.
what is it? 411 episodes later?
Yeah, I was last
Our good
on
friend Gage.
episode 100.
Our good friend Gage is back. Suicide Squad fan number one. Sorry, Ryan Scott. You're not actually, even though you edited the Suicide Squad Wikipedia page, you are not the number one fan. That would go to Gage. And that's why he is here. Because this is an all Suicide Squad podcast. Talking all about the brand new movie on theaters, I guess.
In theaters and on HBO Max.
And HBO Max, mostly. Yeah, so we got a big cast today. We're gonna do our normal. We can talk here for a few minutes, but then I do want to do our normal kind of quick round table about our thoughts, spoiler free. So if you have not seen Suicide Squad and you just want to get some initial thoughts, we'll give you those, and then we'll go into the movie, full spoilers. But I want to ask first before we get into it: did anyone go to the theater? If anyone. I mean, I would guess Kevin. I know Kevin's been big on theaters, and Scott. Scott's a big theater guy. Did you guys both go to the theater to see this?
Yes, sir.
Scott?
I am going next week. So I watched it at home because I just ran out of time, but I'm going next week.
Okay, and none of us. The rest, Brock, you didn't. Gage, you didn't. All right.
Kevin, did you get the free promo comic book?
No, I saw that, though. I kind of want one.
I did not. Scott,
That was
you better
the
keep a
only thing
lookout
where
for
I'm
it.
like, life or free comic book?
Hey, when did the free comic book come out? See,
It
this
was
is what
if
I
you
get
went
for
and
not
saw it
paying
at AMC the first weekend, you were supposed to get, but they don't. I'm sure it's just a reprint with a new cover.
Yeah, you could. So
My experience with stuff like that is they do that and then they just go on the customer service table till they run out.
Right, so you could probably roll up tomorrow and just take a stack of them. And if you do that, I need one. Brock wants one. Gage wants one. So, send them care of me to the comic
Or if you
store
live in the middle of nowhere and they don't care anyway, and you want to get some and send it to us.
Yeah.
So that is only AMC, right?
That was the story I read was just AMC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin, I do have to ask, how was because you've been going regularly to the theater.
Yep.
Since things opened back up. But is this the first big release?
Black Widow
opening weekend. You did Black Widow too.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
But again, I'm not going on a Saturday night at prime time. I wouldn't do that in a non-pandemic time, let alone now.
Right.
So this was a Black Widow-sized crowd, and by that I mean maybe it's hard to tell because I'm way down in the front section, and so the crowd is entirely behind me. But I'd say between 50 and 100 people, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Good.
But it's one of the big screens.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in a room that sits let's say 400, there might have been 100.
Yeah. At the end of the episode, we could talk briefly about box office. It's Sunday, so we don't have kind of those Monday numbers, but I know there's been some talk of, what to expect for a pandemic R-rated movie. But we will get to that. How did the crowd seem? Did they seem into it? Or was it okay? Yeah. And it is rated R too, so I'm expecting, people in theater crowds are probably a little on the limited side. So
Yeah, it wasn't a kiddie crowd.
Right. All right. So I like to do a random number generator here.
Here we go.
So
with the random number generator.
So we can have.
Random.
It's always random. It just gives me number 5. So that would be Ryan, Brock, Kevin, Charlie, Scott. So we're going to actually start with our guests today and go around the table. Scott and then Gage, and then we'll loop back to me. We go in intro order here. Scott, now I'm not sure how many of our movie episodes you've listened to. I think you've been on for a couple of them.
I've been
Maybe
on
one
for
or two?
about 10 of them. Maybe
No,
15. Yes.
no.
Tons.
The movie
Tons
ones?
of them.
Well,
Tons of them.
for first time listeners and for Gage, and just refresh memory here, give us your spoiler free. Give us a couple minutes. I don't need official forever ranking, but give us a little comparison to other DC movies or other comic movies where it goes on your list. And like I said, keep spoiler light or spoiler free, and then we'll get into it when we all give our little talk. So, Scott, why don't you start us off?
Number one, I think James Gunn is my style of comedy superhero movie. So let's go in, and by that I mean if he's doing the movie, it probably starts at a 7 instead of a 5. So I already like him a little bit better. I think John Cena's hilarious. And I thought he was very good in his role. He's just ridiculous. I enjoyed the movie as a whole. I enjoyed the previous ones, but sat around and picked apart a lot of the things that, that was wrong, or I could let that pass. Where this one...
That actually is, sorry to interrupt, that actually is a good point. I wasn't even thinking about it, but of course, compare and contrast to the original if you want.
Well, the original 2. Essentially, Birds of Prey was essentially a Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah. I mean, with Harley.
It was. I did like them better than those. There were some things that I liked in the earlier ones, but I thought this was superior from a movie standpoint. So there you go. Kevin's already looking at me like I'm crazy.
I wasn't even looking at you. I was looking at the recording bar.
Cena, your standout character, Peacemaker.
Oh yeah, I love Peacemaker.
It's pretty good.
I mean, again, it's just. I mean, part of it is I walked into. I happened to actually be in the store when one of our customers had seen it already, and he was, I hate John Cena, and that was.
So I'm not a wrestling guy. Scott, you are something of a wrestling guy.
Yeah, I've been on wrestling podcasts as well. So yes,
there is a
wrestling hero clicks. Okay.
Yes.
Well, Marshall bought wrestling hero clicks, and he hates wrestling. So let's. Scott, explain to me the John Cena sucks thing.
The John Cena sucks thing is basically the way his music goes. They just you suck him all the time. I mean, John Cena sucks.
Okay, so even people that like him saying John Cena sucks.
They like not liking him.
Okay.
He's
because I've seen this.
So is he considered a heel?
No, he's never been a bad guy. So
they just don't like him.
No, so what you would call a smark, which is a smart mark. Guys that know the wrestling industry just don't dig him. All little kids love John Cena.
Yeah.
All little kids. He's like their biggest merchandise producer of all time. You think even more than The Rock.
Yeah. Oh.
So he sells a lot of stuff. So they love him. He's good at what he does in the wrestling industry, just like The Rock was. And I mean, come on, he was hilarious in Cock Blockers. He was really good in Trainwreck. He's a funny comedic actor.
Well, if you're a good wrestler, you've got to be a good actor. That's what they are, right?
The best ones are, yeah.
Yeah, you have to be. It's a show. It's a performance. Yes, it's there is elements of real physicality. I mean, these people are incredible athletes, but like they are also performers. They are also actors. Like there's more to it than I'm sure most of them are horrible, but the ones that really succeed, they're. I mean, God, between John Cena, The Rock, Batista, these guys. I mean, they do a good job.
Yeah.
So,
and again, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed him. I enjoyed him in this. And in general, as a whole, like when I watch the movie, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
Very entertaining. So
Gage, give us a rough little overview, and rank as you see fit if you want to do that.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I was entertained. I would probably say it was like an 8 out of 10. I felt it was, it was a solid movie. It was better than the majority of the DC movies, and actually probably better than a significant amount of the Marvel movies. But it didn't kill it. I felt they missed a few opportunities that would have just put it over the top.
Yeah.
There were spaces where you go, that was good, but I wish you had done this. And so I'll leave it at that. We can talk about it more.
Just again, spoiler light, but like closer to the comic, or just more violent, or just
no. Within scenes and within elements of it, I felt like they left some things hanging out that they could have killed it and really had just like the death blow and really put it over the top. When Guardians of the Galaxy came out, from that material, he did a really good job of sort of, cherry picking the best elements of what had been laid out from the comics and bringing in elements from what was going to be the cinematic universe and making the movie work. And for this one, it just felt like they left either some gags or some things that you might have wanted as a viewer on the table, where you kind of wonder, well, why didn't they do it that way?
Yeah. Got a standout character?
Oh, I think it would have to be Nanawi.
King Shark.
Have you watched
the Harley Quinn animated show?
I have seen 75% of the first season, and I have not. It's on my to-do list, but because I have small, influential daughters. One time I was watching it, and there's a Harley Quinn cartoon. No, don't. Please don't look at this or listen to anything they're saying, and then I had to turn it off. So
your oldest is getting close. Yeah. It'll be like your favorite show very soon.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, and the ones that I like are fine.
Fuck yeah, Kite Man.
That is the question. What I saw a couple comments online where people were like, "I loved King Shark, but I like the Harley Quinn version better." And that is two different takes on the same character, but I think they're both
well, sure. And this is the Groot version of King Shark. I mean, it's clearly a stand-in for that.
Yeah. Now remind me, what the heck is it? The original. What do you? What's your feelings? Remind me. I don't remember.
Oh, the first one. Yeah, we all saw it together in the theater.
Yeah, I remember. Because you're a big Squad fan. I kind of remember. I know. I remember you didn't like it, but I don't. But they were like,
hate it.
You like some of it.
At the time, I was fine with it. I was glad to see that it made it to the big screen, because let's face it, if 20 years ago they had said we were making a Suicide Squad movie, people would have been like, that was a comic? I mean, it was something that kind of had a cult following, came and went, and other things were bigger at the time. So the fact that within the first, 6 movies, the Suicide Squad was even made was, I think, probably an achievement. That being said, I know there's all this release the air cut and all this back and forth. You can tell that there's 2 different tones within the movie. And I think the first half of the movie works pretty well. All the scenes where they're, showing how people got into the prison and they're introducing the characters, that works great. It falls apart the second they go on the mission. And frankly, the second half of the first Suicide Squad movie could be the second half of Avengers Age of Ultron, or almost any of those other ones where you're just fighting off mindless drones.
So you mean as like the Suicide Squad movie?
No, the first one.
The first one.
And the first one. And the Suicide Squad. Mindless zombies.
A little bit. But
this gets into a spoiler.
Oh, wait, they're being controlled by something. These are changed into black tar things. These have little stars on their face.
It's such a minor part of this one, I think, compared to
it really is. I mean, if you actually, because I just watched it again 2 hours ago, they really don't spend much time dealing with the drones at all. And
they're just there.
Spoilers.
Yeah, very, very end. Yeah, so I'll go. We'll go Brock, Kevin, and Charlie. Yeah, no surprise, I'm sure. I really enjoyed it. It's not going to top. It's not going to top my DC list. There's a few of them I still like a little bit better. But it was very fun. Man of Steel I think is still my number one. Man of Steel is amazing, and Wonder Woman is tough to beat. Wonder Woman's really good. But this is right there. I think this, Aquaman, Shazam, take away the Zack Snyder stuff for a bit. They've done a really good job of making them. I don't know that they're going to be on the same level as the Phase 1, Phase 2 MCU movies. They just don't seem to have hit quite the same audience. But they're crowd-pleasing, fun, enjoyable movies. The Snyder, regardless of your opinion of him, and I do like them, but they're just so hit or miss for people. The reviews for this, the reviews for Shazam, the reviews for Birds of Prey for the most part, and again, Aquaman seems to be like the big winner, at least money wise. It did incredibly well in the theater. They're just fun movies, and I think that was DC's problem out the gate. Is I wish these were the movies that started it.
It would have made a huge difference if these were the first ones.
Yeah, you could start with smaller characters and then build up to Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, all that. Obviously, and Wonder Woman too. Obviously, did really well. So yeah, with Squad, I thought it was just fun characters. When we get into spoilers, I have one. This is like a fan thing, but I have one. It's not a story problem, but I have one big problem. Talk about that in a little bit. It's good. I thought maybe there would have been a better way to do some of the character backgrounds. They kind of all have their moment where they've just they have a big dialogue and just sort of info dump a bunch of stuff. It's fine because you have such a large cast. It didn't bother me too much. But the action was great. I thought it was pretty funny. That was one of my bigger concerns with James Gunn, is that I thought Guardians was great. Fantastic. Guardians is, of the three, I think, the best. But Guardians 2 just fell so flat for me because I thought the jokes were just very added on. They weren't part of the plot. They as Leanne showed in her edit of the Guardians 2 movie for me, you could just cut those jokes out and it doesn't affect anything. The humor in this flowed better. It felt mostly, whether it worked for you or not, that's one thing, but it didn't feel like it was out of place within the movie. And to me, that was my biggest concern going in, is this going to be a Guardians 1 or Guardians 2? And to me, it was much more like Guardians 1, just a fun ragtag group of oddball characters. And, you expect most of them to get slaughtered and they don't let you down there. But, yeah, it was good. Again, not my top, but right up there with the kind of the best of the recent batch. And yeah, I'm like an A-, maybe. There's maybe one or two things I would have done different, but yeah, I very few complaints. Brock, give us a couple of minutes.
So I watched it Friday night with my roommate at home, and yeah, I mean it jumps right in and gives you kind of this movie that you expect from James Gunn. So like that at least was there. I was concerned about, again, like the humor you said, Ryan, but the humor was fine. It worked. A lot of the scenes that we'd already seen in like the trailers, they still made me chuckle a little bit. So it was like, okay, well, at least these jokes are still hitting good. I had some issues with just how it was laid out. I think, the first movie did a better job of introducing at least the characters. I didn't mind the backstory stuff that they used, or how they did some of the backstories. Those were that was fine, but I think the introduction to the characters was something that I think the first movie really established, and this one just didn't hit that same mark, which is kind of a little bit of a letdown since there were so many more characters that they were, introducing. I know they couldn't do all of them, but yeah.
I think the bouncing back and forth maybe took out that a little bit. I would have preferred a little more of an intro, kind of get everyone set up and then off they go, instead of just kind of like the way it sort of bounced back and forth in the time the movie. It made it a little not confusing, but it was just they could have front loaded more of the character setup, and I think that would have could have worked a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, this movie had a ton of great nods to Suicide Squad throughout, which we'll talk about, a little bit further on. But overall, I mean, I think I'm probably in the same wheelhouse as Gage. I think it's more of an 8. There's things that they could have done that would have made it fantastic, but it was overall entertaining, and I enjoyed it. Harley was back to being Harley. I did not care for her performance in Birds of Prey. I think it shifted a little too drastically in away from what the character was established in Suicide Squad, but this brings her back kind of where she was before. So, yep. That's Kevin. Your turn.
All right, Kev.
Yes, sir.
Give us a little bit.
Well, let's see. I'd rather not talk about the first movie.
Well, first of all, we have to remind everyone of the amazing viewing experience of the first one, and how much of you are Ayer fan number one. If you started at least Ayer cut, if I don't remember.
I am an Ayer fan with one huge exception in his filmography. Yes, the folding chair night. That was the folding chair night, right?
Yeah, I think if you were in a standard movie theater chair and not a folding chair, I think you just would have enjoyed the movie better.
How were you in a folding chair?
Because the only seats inside the theater were at angles where I don't like to sit. And so I wanted
Leanne is just laughing in the background because she remembers this.
To get the best angle, Scott, I went out to the lobby, grabbed a folding chair, and came back in and put it where I would have had a chair had I chosen.
Yeah, he sat next to me and Leanne, because it was an oddball layout, and just
it's one of those funky. It's got different.
It was a Saratoga 14s. That one.
It was at Century.
It had the little
Century 16 in Mountain View.
Yeah, they have the little satellite little areas.
Anyway, the chair had nothing to do with my enjoyment. The chair was perfectly comfortable.
Floors.
It's just sticky floors.
That's Guardians. That's Guardians 2, not that Suicide. You guys got to get your traumatic movie nights straight. Okay, so wait, where were we? Yes, so we're
comparing it to the original one.
Oh, God, there's no comparison. The original one, and look, we don't need to wade into this because I know some people in this group are in a different camp on this. The original, if I'm counting big budget studio movies that have talented people involved, the original is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen worse, but I'm talking about zero budget direct to video crap with money and talent. Let's move on. So you guys were grading this like an 8 out of 10. I'd probably go along with that. I actually watched it, Gage. I actually watched it again too tonight on HBO. Ryan, I think my problem the first time through was I felt sometimes that the kind of the balance between serious emotional moments and wacky over the top, like violent, like Looney Tunes style violence was a little. I didn't think that balance was quite there. It felt a little herky-jerky in places.
I think that's Gunn, right? I mean, that seems to be his style.
There's one specific scene that I had tons of issues with that goes along with that, but we'll talk about that later.
But the second time through, I was way less bothered by that, actually. And so I would say that this may be my sweet spot in that it's characters I have no attachment to. I haven't read anything since the Ostrander series in the 80s, like literally not an issue of Suicide Squad since then. It's characters I have no attachment to, and so I can just kick back and watch it as a movie without bringing expectation with me into the movie of, well, they better do this and this and this to be true to the source. I could just watch it. So to me, guys, an 8 out of 10 puts it at maybe my number 2 DC movie. Definitely my favorite DC movie villain. And I can't even think of a number 2 for that.
Actually, I want
to beats Darkseid.
This does
come
not
on.
necessarily come up with spoilers here, but I think the one thing that I actually haven't seen a lot of people talk about, but I did mention on Twitter briefly, and I got a couple comments about it. This is a rare movie that does really like 4 villains, and it actually works, and that's hard to do. But you have the generals, you have Waller is kind of always a half a villain in the squad anyway.
Yeah.
The Thinker and Starro, that's tough to pull off. It's tough to pull off 2 villains. It doesn't always work. I think they did a good job with this villain.
Actually, you're miscounting. There's 5, but we can talk about it.
I think, Ryan, also one thing that helps it work is kind of one villain goes off stage and then the other one comes on, and then that one sweeps off and then the next one comes in. So it's not a bunch of Bane and Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring that up, everybody, but it's not everybody competing.
I never watched it, so I'm good.
Oh, Brock, you
missed
we should have a bonus episode, a Patreon episode of just watching.
That
Batman
would require
and
a
Robin.
lot of money on our Patreon. A lot. And consistently
Anyway.
for a long period of time.
To get to Charlie, I'll just wrap up and say I would also grade it an 8 out of 10 probably, but to me that's good enough for number 2 of the DC EU slate behind Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's right up there with me. And Charlie, let's wrap it up and we'll get some spoilers.
So I really liked it. In fact, it's one of those rare cases where its placement keeps jumping around a little bit in my mind. And a large part of that is it is the perfect movie to just sort of put on, even in the background while I'm working or something, and I will just enjoy it. There's a lot of these other movies that when I think about rewatching the original Suicide Squad movie, I'm like, why would I bother? For the most part. And it's not to say that I didn't enjoy watching it at the time, but the thought of spending the time to rewatch it now just does not appeal to me. And I kind of found that way with the Birds of Prey movie and that kind of stuff too, where I watched it once and I'm good. And unfortunately, that's how a lot of the DC movies have kind of been feeling to me lately, where it may be a number of years and I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to rewatch BVS. But I'm not immediately going I could rewatch this again, versus this movie feels very rewatchable. A large part of that has to do with the soundtrack and that kind of stuff. It makes it really easy to put on in the background. And it kind of functions as you still have the sort of story going on, but it also has good music throughout to kind of make you enjoy the experience, even just listening to it. Yeah, I know I just went on but what that basically means, it is definitely my number 2, but I could be persuaded into my number 1 kind of thing, which is a odd place for it to be because that's not where I expected it to be.
Does Wonder Woman take the top spot?
Yeah. But Wonder Woman, is again not a movie that I would just sort of throw on. I'd have to be more I'm prepared to commit some time to watch Wonder Woman right now.
Yeah,
which is why it's easy to kind of shift those around. And that was actually one of the great things about both Guardians movies for me also, is the same kind of thing between the soundtrack and the way they told the story and that kind of stuff. They are very fun movies to even just listen to the soundtrack or just put on in the background, and that kind of stuff works for me.
Yep.
I mean, for me, it's that when I watch Wonder Woman, I'm not looking forward to seeing Mustachio at the end. That's always in the back of my head. Like this, I can't wait to see Starro. I thought he was
That's
awesome.
very true.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm telling you, I'm gonna get Toby to edit the end of Wonder Woman for me and put in that all they need to do is put in that George Perez
helmet,
black star face version of Ares, just it's like that black void, right?
Yeah, you just do the black void with the red eyes. That's it. That's all you need.
And that's it. Just edit in that scene into the end. Just edit him so you don't see his mustache, and you're good. And you have a perfect
what I'm
movie.
talking about, though. There's certain parts of that movie. I love that movie, but there's certain parts I dread. This one was just kind of a fun little ride.
Well, for me, I still sort of dread I like she kills who she thinks Ares is and realizes, okay, maybe I can't blame the entire war on Ares. And then like, oh wait, nope. If you kill Ares, the war, like I feel like the message in the movie got muddled by what they did in the end.
Yeah.
And if I was going to edit it, I would just edit it to when she killed the general guy or whatnot, and leave that sort of realization in there that she was looking at it in a oversimplified form.
Yeah, that works.
But you still have to get rid of that porn stash.
Yeah, you still got to get rid of the face. Yeah. I don't mind him when he's in disguise, but not when he's full Aries. Okay,
Yeah.
Not the Wonder Woman podcast. Suicide Squad. Let's hit some spoilers.
Just as a clue, he was 12 years old. Fell from the roof on East 29. Kathy was 11 when she pulled the plug. 26 reds and a bottle of wine. Bobby got leukemia, 14 years old. He looked like 65 when he died.
Hey guys, before we move on, we're going to talk about our new friends over at 9panel.com. 9panel.com is run by collectors who spent the last 4 years working with local comic shops, convention dealers, and online sellers to develop a better way to buy and sell comics online. It's easy to search for key books or browse by comic-specific categories. On 9panel.com, you can buy from as many shops as you want in a single checkout. All the transactions are secure and protected. If you want to sell comics, you can set your own policies, create a custom branded shop page with filters, search features for buyers, and 9panel's smart listing process helps you create better listings in less time. 9panel is a marketplace built just for comics by comic collectors who love comic books. Check out 9panel.com today and buy a comic book. Now, I got two things to say, and then we'll go crazy. Okay, I got two things to say up front. One, I am very mad that I never thought about the Jim Carroll People Who Died song as being the perfect theme song for the Suicide Squad.
Right?
Like, the second it starts, I'm like,
Yes.
fuck, how have I never thought about this? It is the perfect song.
You,
to be
Mr.
the theme
DJ,
song.
should be ashamed.
I know.
Should
And
be
I've heard this
ashamed.
song a million times, and it just, my DJ world and my comic world just failed me at that moment. Okay.
You haven't been in the DJ world for how long?
Oh, but I was there for a long time. Trust me. Two. And this is my one problem with the movie. I am legitimately mad they killed Captain Boomerang. Legitimately mad. Everyone else.
I saw that from the second we saw the trailer, and you go, "Yeah, why is Jay Courtney not in any of these scenes?"
I am.
They kill him.
Slaughter everyone else.
It's okay. We can bring him back. I've already got.
Sure.
Rewatching it, there's an obvious thing that they can do.
Just a million
Take the DNA from Resurrection Man's arm and just redo everybody.
Yeah, I don't care. How they've just got to bring him back.
Flashpoint resets
He
everything.
was without question the best part of the original movie, and I am so disappointed that he died.
He gets shit
Maybe
on.
if he died at the very end, I would have been like, okay, we've got him in 2 full movies. That is the only actual problem I have with the movie is that they killed him.
He's good for the 5 minutes he's on screen.
He's again. I wish Toby was here because then I could continue my trend of loving absolute assholes. He is such a dick in the original movie, and he starts off so good in this, and then he's just dead immediately. That legitimately made me mad.
Well, that whole scene, I was like, wait a second, I haven't seen this. I haven't seen the original squad members in any of the previews.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, they're all going to
Rick
die.
Flag was
Right.
Rick
Flag
Flag
and
was.
Harley are the two.
Yeah.
But the rest of them,
you don't really see
didn't
the rest.
see him in anything.
No. And yeah, I didn't expect them to bring back Killer Croc or who else lives in the original.
Well,
Harley does, Boomerang does.
June Moon technically does, but that was kind of a
Katana.
the
Katana,
Diablo
but-
guy technically
Diablo
lives,
dies.
but no,
Does he?
The god lives.
No, he dies.
He dies, but the god still lives.
It's the thing inside of him. Sure. But yeah. There's not too many that make it out of the first one, but yeah. Killing Boomerang. Now we'll go to
Ryan. My soul also was a victim of the first one too, so put that on the list.
we'll go to Gage Superfan here for a question that I do have to ask. Killing Rick Flag. Thoughts?
So actually, I mean, I know we didn't really all get a chance to talk about this, but one of the things I was hoping we'd get to do, and I did myself, was before I watched it, I made a list just predicting, okay, who's going to make it and who's not going to make it.
Oh, that would have been good. Oh, you got to tell us before the movie. We could have had our little betting pool.
We're busy. These weeks have been crazy and people have not been in. But so I made a list before sitting down and watching it, and I moved some things around as it got closer, but I got it within 2.
Really?
I had Rick Flag dying, and I had the Weasel dying.
Yeah.
Well, technically, he did die.
Right, but I actually had Bloodsport also dying. So I missed it with Bloodsport and the Weasel. I thought they would both actually die. But going back, since we're already talking about that first scene, the scene is good, and it really felt like an homage to the comics, where so many comics open with that big action scene to draw you in, and then jump backwards.
Yes.
And within a movie, like you're saying, it can be a little disorienting, and it feels like that was one of the opportunities they missed. When one of my kids saw that Pete Davidson was going to be in it, they go, "Pete Davidson's going to be in that movie?" And Freudian slip, I go, Pete Davidson's going to die in that movie. I mean, he's in that movie. Like, there was no doubt in my mind he was going to die. But I think they missed a chance where, I know it was supposed to be unexpected when he stands up and does what he does, but I think they could have hinted at it, foreshadowed at it. Remember in the first movie, Kevin probably has blocked this out, but where Harley's got a phone and is texting, they could have done something where you could tell something's not right. And the only thing that doesn't line up in my mind after watching it twice is he's selling them out and they don't know they're being sold out. But Amanda Waller immediately knew she needed 2 teams to go and the other team would be good. Where that's the one disconnect.
I assume Waller knew. I just assumed she was they're going to be the distraction.
She had been tapping his phone records and she knew that he was selling them out from the beginning.
But if this was all the plan, and this is the part that I like about the scene, is like Waller definitely sent Team 1 to die and be the distraction, but that means she sent Flag to die and Harley to die.
Yeah.
Exactly. Why wouldn't they be on your B team and have it the other way around? So, I still like the scene. It's just one of those things where you go, well, okay, why would you do it this way? Then, like Charlie's saying, if then you're like, oh, wait, Flag's still alive, we need him. Oh, Harley's still alive.
I just assumed she could have cared less about. Waller cares less about her people.
Yeah, and she doesn't care about Flag either. Yeah. So I
am assuming the reason why she sent them to get Flag is because she felt Flag might throw a wrench into the plan if he was left out there as a solo operator.
Yeah,
it's possible. One of the things that is interesting, and Kevin might be able to talk to this too, since he read the Ostrander thing. Waller's personality since the Ostrander run has gone from very conflicted and sort of multifaceted to now really she's just the governmental enforcer who has a whim and wants what she wants done. Whereas in the original one, I've even been going back and reading some of them. She gets told by some government, oh, you're going to, this government agent says, oh, you're going to do this. And she goes, my people are expendable, not disposable. And her big thing is we're not throwing these people away, but if we have to lose them, we'll lose them if it's, what we need to do. But let's not just waste them. And that they have moved away from that in most of the recent comic series and definitely in the movies.
I feel like that started probably kind of after the Ostrander reboot. So when they rebooted it the first time, when was that?
That was like 2008, around like the New 52.
That's when it changed.
Was that Ashes of Fire?
Yeah.
Was that what it was?
So not to jump around chronologically, but it goes thematically with it. My other big problem towards the end was, when they're off mission and they start going back and she's threatening to blow them up. I mean, she's going to lose them either way. I think what would have been a more compelling scene is if Bloodsport stood up to her at that point and basically said, we've got to save these people. And then she dropped the, see, I told you I'd make you a leader, right then. And it was sort of like she put him in a situation where he had to make the call and he made the call. The sort of showdown and then them hitting her over the head. I mean, maybe it'll play into the TV show with Peacemaker and stuff, but it just sort of left it feeling like, well, she could still blow him up all when it's done and she wouldn't have to worry about the death.
Well, the other thing with that scene was the way they portrayed Amanda Waller in this movie. That one employee who hits her with the golf club, and then in a later scene, she's holding a bandage or an ice pack to her side of her head, and everybody's back at their terminals and they're back on the thing. I'm like, she would have had that entire crew executed.
Yes, exactly.
Like just for standing around and watching that happen.
Right. They would have all been replaced. The only thing, I mean, again, not
take out
explained at all.
Everybody in the first one?
Yeah, she left them all to die in Central City.
Well, she shot them before they left.
Well, sure, yeah, she killed them. So, I mean, yeah, and it's just different because, like in the original Ostrander run, she has conversations with the dead people that she's killed, and basically she's constantly showing remorse for these decisions she's made. And the woman who in the second movie hits her with a golf club, she feels devastated because she ends up being responsible for that woman's death because she gets taken to Apocalypse when they go and they have to take Lashina back. So, I mean, it's just too bad because what was an interesting character is now just sort of one-dimensional.
Caricature of her.
You could kind of made her special.
You could kind of read that scene, though, at the end. Maybe she did sort of realize that she'd gone over there, and that's why she didn't just kill everyone, that she was like, oh, maybe I just did push this too far. They don't really imply that, but,
HR might have given her a slip saying, you can't.
I mean, what made her so great in the comic books, though, is that she was always right. Regardless of how many people died, she was always right. So when you go back and you're saying, see, I made you make the right choice as a leader, that would just put her back in that role.
Yeah, well, it feels like they've made her more of like kind of the opposite of like Batman's stubbornness, right? Where it's like he's stubborn to the point of trying to save everybody without death, or he has plans upon plans upon plans. Where she's like, "Oh, I got plans on plans on plans," but I'm, it's this constant, and she doesn't care, what happens, right?
Well, the Batman Waller relationship has always been one of the best in comics.
Yeah,
right. She out manipulates him several times, and at one point, even basically forces him to join the squad so she can get something done. So, I mean, there was always sort of a tete-a-tete between the two of them, and that's sort of, I mean, we had that one post-credit scene in the first movie where she meets him for dinner.
Oh, I do. And then, again, whatever you say about the first movie, I love the after credit scene. Katana, I wish they would do more with her because I really want Katana to be in stuff.
Well, again, I think the beginning of that movie is great. The stuff with the god and the cloud thing spinning, that's all horrible trash. I think that's where that movie seems to fail, is that it establishes this really amazing world that's that's sprinkled with stuff from Zack Snyder's films, but it works so well, and then it just shits the bed, right? And
it's two movies. The second they leave in the helicopters from the prison is usually where, if I've caught it on cable, I go, oh, I can turn it off now.
Real quick. Sorry, go ahead, Rob.
Well, I was going to say, the opening scene for me, I haven't watched it again, so I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about it, but I was actually disappointed with it, especially with how, you didn't really showcase anything, and it just kind of felt a little too slapstickish with how people were dying. Right.
But everyone gets their one attack, but then they die. So you get a little bit of power.
Are you talking about the new movie or the old one?
I'm talking about the new one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the way, Boomerang, does that really cool, awesome thing. And then it's because she jumped and grabbed a helicopter and he got hit with some stuff because of this. And then now the helicopter's blowing up and hitting him. It's just this comedic downfall of just garbage. And it's one of those things where it's even TDK, I'm just wow, that it just, for me, it was really bad. And I wasn't a huge fan of the whole, that opening scene thing.
But I liked it. Again, other than, I'm going to go through the list actually really quick. But other than Boomerang, that's exactly what I expected was going to happen.
But
I thought maybe it would be
getting his head blown up is just kind of
maybe it would have been a little later in the movie. But overall, I was they're going to have a scene where they're going to just slaughter everyone. But everyone gets their sort of attack. I know Leanne, when we were watching it, she was like, "They just got Pete Davidson. He gets one scene and then he's dead." She's like, they kind of made a big deal that he was in this, and he's just gone.
We
immediately.
got another scene. It was the flashback scene.
A half
in the flashback scene with the toilet paper on his shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is with Savant, the opening scene with Savant is really awesome, where he bounces the ball around and then he kills that canary, right? And that's such a nod to the Birds of Prey team and all that stuff. That was a nice little gem. And then it's the character just turns tails and runs, and you're just he doesn't even do anything.
He gets eaten by a canary.
Yes, that was that's the thing, is the whole scene sucked to me, and that thing. But him getting eaten by a canary, I was oh, okay. And then Harley having that thing with talking with Javelin, I'm oh, okay, this makes sense. But everything else before that, I'm just kind of meh, okay.
Well, with Savant, his whole thing is he don't really see the future. You can't really see the future, but he sort of he sort of knows what's going to happen, right? Isn't that sort of his power?
No, I thought it was that he was super smart and he can predict, he did all the math.
Right.
If this is this going to, and then this is going to happen.
And that's what I'm assuming. That's what happens. And then his prediction was, I'm fucked. So I'm just going to run because I can't get out of this. I'm not going to be able to do anything.
But I had no problem with powers that. There's nothing that really says that about
No, from a comic, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So Nathan Fillion, our fall off boy, again, you expect that character. It's also Nathan Fillion, so they're just going to kill him off immediately. But that was Brock, step in when you don't like it, or sorry, step in when you do like it. But I thought he's
not talking again the rest of the show.
No, about the opening scene. No, because I want to go through those characters really quick.
Anyway, the opening scene with them in the chopper having the conversation back and forth, that was really great stuff. And then you get them on the beach, and you're okay, they're really going to do something. And like you said, they kind of have the one attack and do something. And Nathan Fillion's attack is, my arms are going to float around and hit you on the head. It was
so great. Our fall off boy is amazing.
That was the whole point. It was such a waste, and he's basically slapping him back and forth.
Yeah.
At that point, you're everybody in this team's going to die.
Yeah.
They're all going to die right here. And it's Ryan, you know me. I want guys to die. I've talked about this for 2 decades. Let's just kill off, make a villain good, and by killing off a bunch of guys that don't matter at all.
Yeah.
The thing is I think it makes I understand having Team A and Team B. I get that whole concept. I get it when you get into it, but when people are being told specific moves and there's all these intricate details that they're relaying to them. And this went to another scene later on in the film where you get an amazing scene of the infiltration of that camp to capture Rick Flag. And I get the joke at the end that, whoops, we killed all the wrong people. But wouldn't Waller have known that these were freedom fighters with all the tech that they had, and they were...
But they didn't know. They
didn't know where he was. But you would think that they would have said, look out for the freedom fighters.
Well, but so my mentality on that is, even if Waller knew, I don't see any reason why she would want them to work with the freedom fighters.
She does say at the end of the movie, the U.S. is probably better off with this country being in turmoil. So
yeah, but the whole purpose of the mission was really just to sort of cover up the U.S.'s involvement in that experimentation.
Which was that a shock to anyone who watched the movie?
No, not at all. But what that basically means is every single move she was weighing against what is the likelihood of this information getting out. If flags with the freedom fighters, you need to get flagged back and you need to take them off the board potentially.
She did say to kill everybody who's got him hostage. She didn't differentiate whether or not they were. So I don't think Crowley's assessment's wrong.
I did see a few comments about kind of predictable, and Waller turns on them, and the good guys are the bad guys. It's like, yeah, but that's always how this turns out. Waller is always against them, even if you think she's doing something good. There's 1,000 other things going on behind the scenes. Whatever reason you're going in, the audience is never going to know till the characters know the real reason, right? So to me, it's like, that's what Waller's always like the background villain of like every Suicide Squad story, old and new. And that's what makes that character. It's very interesting because it's just more multi-level than a lot of
Yeah, but I think her involvement
save the day
in this movie versus her involvement in like the first one, her involvement in the first one, you really kind of got that character breakdown, that intensity. In this, it was, you got a little bit of it, you were reintroduced to it a little bit, and then they kind of just disappear. And we don't have anything that's kind of brewing in the background or showing us what a man is, because that's part of the allure of it, is sometimes letting the audience know a little bit what's going to happen and before the actual, characters do. And I think that's where in this movie they kind of, it was like, oh, radio silence, so we are now cutting out most of this, you out of this movie, even though we probably could have had something very, intricate. And yeah, I felt that Waller could have been used a little bit better. But yeah, Charlie, your point to that, yes, that would work. But I think when my first viewing of that, it just caught me off guard because I was just like, huh? It's a really good scene. But.
I want to finish up. I want to go through these characters again real quick. The ones that do die.
We've lost already.
We got Savant. We got GDK. We got Captain Boomerang. The one and only Flew LeBorg is Javelin. Wonderful voice actor. I love that guy's voice. She's great German accent. Which Harley agrees with as well.
Yes.
It's Javelin again. You saw him dying a mile away. Mei-Ling Na as Mongal, sorry. That's one I actually, again, it's tough. With her and King Shark, one of them is going to go quick, and clearly King Shark was the one that was going to stick around. They're going to have their Hulk, right? And then,
Yeah, I was surprised how easily she was taken out, though.
Yeah. What did they say?
She jumped, grabbed the helicopter, and then it blew up on her.
Yes.
She didn't even get an attack. It was, I jumped.
Historically, that character...
Well, technically, her attack was attacking the helicopter.
Yeah. But I guess traditionally, I would not expect even a helicopter crash to take out that character.
Yeah.
Correct.
Although they sort of softened it, because when they were betting, they even said, Mongal, is she an alien or what's her deal? And then a Waller walked in. So, they let's face it, she was frankly the one that got no explanation as to what she was.
Yeah, and again, what do they say to King Shark? What's his Hulk smash?
Nom nom.
Nom nom, something nom nom. Yeah, we don't need. You're not going to have two Hulks. You're just not going to have two Hulks. Pete Davidson is Blackguard again. Super funny that I like to see where Peacemaker and Bloodsport are both talking about how like they're the same character, and Blackguard is just another version of the same. Just the same character, right? Just another like kind of Punisher ripoff. And we were talking. I think we talked about this when Squad, when the movie was first announced and they were showing all the characters, of all of these characters, King Shark's had a decent cure in the comics. Obviously, Captain Boomerang and Rick Flag and Harley aside, Peacemaker is a legitimate character that's been around for a long time. So
you should love this character.
Peacemaker? I do like Peacemaker. Yeah, he's an asshole. I do like Peacemaker a
You should
lot.
have like the biggest hard-on for him.
Was Peacemaker ever reintroduced when they did the New 52, or did he miss that entire window?
I want to say he showed
Yeah.
up for something, but I don't.
So,
I can't.
He's in that recent
Suicide Squad run.
There was a backup. Well, he's in the current Suicide Squad, but prior to that, he was in the backup of the.
What, Ryan? I'm literally blank on even the title of that book.
It didn't finish. Inferior 5.
Oh yes, but that was
Keith Giffen.
Right.
Yes,
that was Rebirth. That was after Rebirth.
Lemire.
Yeah, that was the Rebirth one. Right.
But,
and they never finished that.
But if you really,
I don't know that. I don't know that he was in New 52.
No, I don't think he was, and he was plucked out of obscurity because he was one of those characters that they bought from another company. And so,
he's a Charlton character.
Yeah, and so he showed
for
up
Peacemaker
in the original run as part of the Janus directive, and then he's one of the 13 characters who get killed taking on Eclipso in that run.
Well,
and
you better track down a copy of Blue Beetle #3.
Yeah, well, all those. Yeah, I mean, Blue Beetle. Judah Master, The Question. Yeah, they're all the Charlton characters.
Yeah.
Actually, there are two characters not on the squad, but I want to talk about them in a second. But Weasel, I know Weasel was very funny. That was very good. Sean Gunn's amazing. He's very, very funny. And I don't know what the hell the end credit is. He's alive, living on.
Corto Maltese.
Corto Maltese, yeah. So cool. He's gonna have a little Weasel family. I don't know what the hell he's gonna do, but. So there are two characters, and this is I don't know if it's been officially answered. We'll have to get some. Maybe we'll ask around Twitter or something if there's if someone knows for sure. Maybe it's in the credits. I didn't see it though. There's two characters. So Calendar Man makes a cameo.
Yep.
He's
the one. He's the one that makes fun of Polka Dot Man in coming to his kid's birthday party.
Also, right. Sean Gunn.
Yeah.
So there's another character. There's a girl that's got a bunch of stuff now.
Face.
Yeah, is that the Doom Patrol chick?
So Screen Rant says it's Crazy Quilt. Bleeding Cool says it's Kaleidoscope, who was a fan-made character that had appeared in an issue of Superboy, The New Adventures of Superboy.
I had also seen somewhere that it was supposed to be Double Down, the Jeff Johns Flash character that's a boy.
Which one?
He had the cards that he ripped from his body.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm going to give Bleeding Cool props here.
Wait, hold on.
Don't do
Bleeding
it.
Cool's got it right.
Wait, hold on. Brock, don't say anything. We got to get some dead air here so we can cut this audio clip out.
No, Bleeding Cool's got it right.
Got it.
They got it right. There is a special thanks in the credits to the creators of Kaleidoscope, Chris Lawton and Nancy May Lawton. They were fans who created this as part of a contest, and that was the only appearance of this character. They've got it right.
In the Superboy.
It's a New Adventures of Superboy number 36 with a Dial H Hero backup feature. So,
yeah. If you look on the DC fan base.
Yep. Screen Rant, you are wrong. They are giving it. So we're going to give that to Kaleidoscope. So that's cool that there's a super that is deep in the catalog. Yeah. Gage got a picture of her. That's her. Yep. So that is ridiculously deep cut there. So that's always cool. I like it when they do that. Who else is in that original? Who else is in the group that dies? Am I missing anyone? I feel like I'm missing someone.
Let's see.
Because we'll talk about the the B team here in a second.
The B team.
I mean, TDK would be the only one that we haven't said really anything else about.
Yeah, I mean we mentioned it briefly, but again, of all the characters to die, you figure he's basically number one. Bloodsport and Peacemaker, I think we talked a little bit here. I should have mentioned it earlier when we did our initial, and I didn't. Polka Dot Man, by far my favorite character. David, I always forget how to pronounce his last name. Dasmolchian. Kevin, maybe get a pronunciation. This guy's a character actor. He's been in 1,000 things.
Yeah, I was standing next to him at that last San Diego we were at. But
really?
But but I never heard the last name said aloud, so I don't want to butcher it.
Yeah, this guy's been in a ton of stuff through the years, including Dark Knight and Suicide Squad. He does a lot of voice acting. He was Abracadabra in the Flash TV show, so he's shown up 2 or 3 times, I think, in the Flash show. This guy's you've seen him in a million things. He was in the Twin Peaks season 3 reboot. So yeah, this guy's shown up in tons of stuff. But again, Polka Dot Man is a character that's just a complete blank slate, like most of these guys. That you could do whatever you want to do with the character, and I loved him. He was great, and it's just that sort of sad sack character that makes good at the end. So
and his mom. Every time he sees his mom just crushing everything.
Oh, and that scene! No, one of the great scenes in the movie that I was the nightclub.
Oh, when they're all dancing.
When all his mom are dancing.
Yeah, and he's dancing on that floor, and then it cuts away and it cuts back, and it's his mom. Yeah. All the girls are his mom. Yeah, and that was a great needle drop, too. The whole movie had great needle drops.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, the movie was filled with, I might not have liked certain things in certain parts, but the movie was filled with those great, fun scenes. Like, you can just, like Charlie said, jump into it anytime. Right, like you were plopped into them going to the bar. You'd be like, "All right, let's watch this. This is where we're going." Right. So, but none of you have talked about Ratcatcher 2.
Well, she was going to be the next one.
Like, Miss
my
Millennial.
favorite character, other than Starro, my favorite character.
She was great.
She actually had a good backstory. They filled her out as a nice character.
I actually liked how they showed her backstory as like kind of the reflection on the bus. Right, it's the whole show not tell, but they actually kind of was telling us and showing us at the same time, and I really liked that.
Well, and this is one of the things that I actually think this movie did better is it did a very good job of filling in the backstory when it was relevant.
Yeah,
and I like that. I like the talking about his fear of rats and then using that as a sort of showing the way she grew up, and then later on in the movie, with her dad explaining why he likes, I loved that stuff. And I thought it was just in the right place in the movie. I didn't need all that earlier in the movie because I kind of felt like it worked really, really well when establishing some of these relationships between characters.
I liked Taika Waititi as Ratcatcher Senior. So he's always fun when he gets to do something. As far as Harley goes, I mean, not too much to say. She's still great.
Fuck.
So,
when she shot the guy, I was like,
which scene?
When she just shoots
people in this.
When she just shoots him, he's sitting there talking, and she just blows him away, and you're like,
Prince guy or whatever he was.
And I'm just like, this is Harley. And she goes through that long ass rant about men in my life and bad stuff, and just I was like, mwah, loved it.
Yeah.
This gun was loaded.
She was very good. I mean, what else are we gonna say? I mean, we're multiple movies in. She's got that character down pat. That's. I get the feeling we're going to get a lot of Harley Quinn movies in the next couple of years. Leanne was saying, she was like, the problem is, Hollywood's not going to let a 50-year-old actress be Harley Quinn, so they're going to have to crank out all the Harley movies they can in the next 5 or 6 years because they don't. Some of these characters do have a bit of a ticking clock, as depressing as that is. But she's great. You can't go wrong with Harley. Margot Robbie's just super
well,
good.
I mean, if they really wanted to be smart, they could use her as that character that appears in other people's movies for no apparent reason, just so you get, and guess who the cameo was? I mean, the way they used Tony Stark and the Iron Man, showing up in Spider-Man and all those other things, that they could drop her in easily and get their most out of her.
Bring Wonder Woman's franchise a little more cred and have her battle Wonder Woman for a little bit. Come on.
Can we pass it over to Charlie for his take on the Thinker?
Oh, let's sidestep the Thinker real quick.
As a Capaldi aficionado, who's left? Who do we not?
Okay, well, there's a couple.
Okay,
So
Charlie.
Yes, I absolutely love the Thinker, but I have to admit I was super distracted because the entire time I was just looking at his head going, It's a bunch of sonic screwdrivers. It's just a bunch of sonic screwdrivers sticking out of his head. I never knew I needed this, but it's great.
Why do I get distinct feeling that Charlie wants just a Thinker cap, like a bald Thinker cap that he can just wear?
I totally would.
And Charlie, did you catch in the flashback when they were showing him first starting, he only had a couple?
Yeah. And then showing that he's been installing them over time. That was great.
And the Thinker's great line when Ratcatcher says, "How would you like a bunch of angry rodents crawling up your ass?" And he goes, "My answer may not be what you're expecting."
that was by far his best line.
There were couple of parts in the movie where just the right look from Capaldi communicates everything that you need.
Yes. He was so great.
Yes.
I also liked his line about "stop clutching your pearls" flag. I mean, that was a great way of, basically telling you to unclench and realize that this isn't the way things always go.
Stallone is King Shark again. I don't know that I ever knew I needed that, but that was very funny. The very, very funny version of that character. That Groot, that Hulk character, you're going to get it in everything. It's just such a great character kind of style to run with. But yeah, they had a few options they could have gone with, obviously, but
I think they did a really good job with the character in the sense of
that's good.
He tries to eat one of his team members
right away.
I love that scene.
Right, and everybody's like, we're just gonna take you out and just knock you down, and it's like, but it turns into more of like you said, a character development thing where it's like friend, and that's where it worked. But of course now we've all seen, John Cena in his tidy whities.
That is an amazing scene. I thought that was hilarious. He's just standing there and you're like,
and Bloodsport's like, what the fuck?
What's going on? I don't understand.
Idris Elba and John Cena kind of going up against each other, because I wanted to say, kind of the two of them together. Again, a pairing I never thought about, and it worked. That scene where they're just like slaughtering all the people, kind of one-upping each other in the camp.
Mauler bullets.
That was pretty good. That was a good scene. They're very funny together. And Idris Elba has some really good lines in this. He's a very funny actor when he wants to be.
Like
scary as fuck too, scary as hell, but
his
also very, very
with
funny.
His daughter, that whole scene is just amazing.
Well,
right?
my fear was that it was just going to be they were just going to copy paste
Deadshot,
Deadshot, and maybe to a degree.
There's a little of it because of the daughter.
Yeah, but they feel like
he's
distinct
really good with
enough
a gun.
characters.
But I absolutely loved his whole outfit and grabbing the different pieces.
His tech was really great. The way they did
cool.
it made it fluid.
Yeah, it's cool.
His character had all of the and he says it right in the meeting where they're going through all that stuff, and he's like, "We're all gonna die," and he's all, "Fuck me." It's like he has so many "fuck me" scenes in this movie that you're just like, oh God, you're just like, you feel for him.
I love when Peacemaker accuses him of being racist for referring to his underwear as tidy whities.
It was very funny. Yeah, and John Cena too. Again, Super funny.
Have you seen Cock Blockers?
No.
Oh, you
So
should
good,
watch
Matt.
Cock Blockers. He's hilarious. It's like, if you liked him in this, you need to watch Cock Blockers and some of the comedy stuff he's done. It's
Well,
there's
Wait,
a
you
small
guys,
part of me.
isn't that movie just called Blockers?
Yeah.
no, it's Cock Blockers. It's just Cock Blockers. I'm not ever going to call it Blockers.
No, but but the actual title, I feel like I'm losing my mind.
the
Isn't it
actual
just
title
Blockers?
is Blockers. It's
They're not
just-
going to release a movie called Cock Blockers.
No, it's just they put a picture of a cock right
Yeah,
behind it,
right.
Right
like-
across it.
so it's like, yeah, you always it's called Blockers, but you got to watch Cock Blockers.
So I also have to kind of call out John Cena for like every piece of promotion he's done basically for Suicide Squad. He's always wearing the outfit, regardless of the
Yeah.
night show,
Really
the
willing to
Zoom
commit to the
call,
character.
He's very funny.
He fucking loves that toilet bowl, man.
Oh, see, I mean, I think that's hilarious. I mean, what did I see him on? He was on with Anthony, and it is. You're like, is he really wearing his costume out there?
He loves it. My wonder about the Peacemaker show. So I 100% thought the show was going to be like a prequel. I had no idea it was supposed to I thought the post credits. I thought he was dead. Right. I just
Right.
totally thought that the show was going to be prequel and they were going to do some backstory and that was it. I did not expect him to be alive at the end of it. I kind of wonder because but James Gunn said they basically pitched the Peacemaker show while they were filming it. So I wonder if he was supposed to die. And they just said, we'll just throw a scene at the end and kind of have him come back.
We'll make you alive.
Part of me wonders, because if those are the people that were working with Waller, it could be they're sending Peacemaker against Amanda Waller. She could be the bad guy of the Peacemaker show. I mean,
So-
I don't know. They really haven't talked about it. But that'd be cool.
Do you want me to say what I know? Because I've
Yeah.
seen, I flipped through it, and other than Cena, two of the characters from the movie are going to be regulars on the show.
Yeah.
It's Economist, John Economist, and then I think it's the blonde who was sitting next to him
Yeah.
at the terminal.
Yeah, and
But
they're
it doesn't look
from the comic too. They're Suicide Squad support members from the original comic stuff too, right? So
Right.
they were the ones that were in the movie. They were the ones that were with him, or they were the ones that were with him when they knocked out Waller, right? They were all in that scene.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but
So-
Viola Davis has not been listed, so I don't think I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, unless she's going to be somehow off camera in every episode.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm just sort of what are they sending him after? That's going to save the world from
that's gonna be the
Amanda
biggest
Waller,
problem.
right?
Sure, but that's going to be the biggest problem of that show. Is one of the things that I think we all agree that made this work is you had good bad guys. And while it may be funny to see him on screen, if it's just him chasing, mindless thugs or generic drug dealers, that's going to be old.
I think
No.
that if it ties into with what Rick said to him right before the end, because I think that's going to be that crack, right? That kind of unravels the character a bit, and maybe that's what they'll explore.
Well,
I don't know. There's been a lot of stuff that's come out since the movies come out where they're talking about how they have more plans for Gunn in the DC stuff. There's been some talk about how the show's going to even greater sort of link to some of the other DC properties. So
Do you think as they were going halfway through this, Gunn is like, this John Cena guy's hilarious. Let's pitch a
they were
show.
he doesn't want to take the costume off. Let's take advantage of this.
yeah.
Make
Right,
more
we'll just
shit.
film him walking around in it.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
he's just so big, it's funny.
And they're not going to take, the clear, kind of play him and Idris Elba had together. That you need a sort of straight man to work against Peacemaker.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they completely alter the character and he just becomes a much more normal dude. But you need that sort of straight man for him to play off of. So it would not surprise me if they team him up with another hero or another villain, and do. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, I haven't seen description one of the show, so I have no idea.
They could bring in that would work really well.
it's supposed to come out in January, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah, they're already done filming. It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're done.
they could bring this character back that's already been introduced. It's a really great character, great playoff with Peacemaker. Probably Katana would be good.
Sure. Well,
especially because she barely talks through the full first movie. She says like 2 words.
Well, and she is a character that's, again, very, very serious, very straight laced, and that would, I mean, sure, that'd be really funny. I don't know if they were going to, but yeah.
Maybe they'll bust out Geoforce.
Now, all characters aside, holy shit, we got Starro. We got. This isn't like Cloud Galactus.
No,
this isn't like
wait, Starro.
This isn't 5. This isn't. This isn't
works.
3 seconds. This isn't 3 seconds of Ego the Living Planet and Guardians 2. This is full on 100% as comic accurate as I've ever seen a villain. Starro
other than Mr. Mind. That's the only other one I can think of.
Yeah.
But can you imagine, Ryan, how amazing it would have been if we lived in the world of, let's say, the 70s or 80s, where you walked in this exact movie, you'd seen no trailers, you'd seen no behind the scenes, you knew nothing. You just, something called Project Starfish, maybe your brain clicks, maybe it doesn't, until they walk in there and see those prisoners with the star faces. Imagine how awesome that would have been if you didn't know everything going in.
Fan. Yeah.
And I think, again, that's they lost something. I know you have to promote it. You have to get people to come in. But they should have never showed it got that big. They should have.
You know what? I don't think – but they didn't. I don't – so I watched a decent amount of the trailers. It's hard to not see stuff these days. I do not believe
full Starro.
But
they say enough and they show a leg coming through and it's
hitting Harley. They show that scene and that's it.
They show some stuff, but like the main thing is I think it was just they said it's that kaiju line, right? It establishes the size with just the word.
Well, and Starro is again a rare villain that it is not one thing. You can bring Starro back 100,000 times and they'll never die because they could just regrow more Starros and it just keeps coming back. So I have no problem with them. Yeah.
I would also just bring up, I feel like a lot of movies have suffered with the pandemic causing more information to come out to keep people interested. Like, I feel like we knew a lot more about Black Widow and this and that kind of stuff because we've literally had another year worth of, hey, we're still here, we're still planning to release this, here's another little tidbit.
Well, they had those they had a big giant Starro at one of the premiere, they were passing out those
London.
Masks in London, so it's like there was a lot of stuff that was kind of just, but again, when was this movie slated to come out originally, right?
No, it was always slated to come out this year. It didn't get pushed around.
Okay, I didn't see any of it, but as soon as they mentioned Project Starfish, I was like, "Oh, it's Starro."
Yeah.
So,
they show
nothing.
They show the scene pretty early on with the astronauts. So, like, you know what's coming, but even then, like, Starro is pretty good.
Well, how many of you guys felt bad for Starro?
Well, Scott, here's the thing. This is as awesome as Starro was. He looks perfect. The movements are perfect. Everything's perfect. I'm glad you said that because this is my favorite Starro thing, literally, is after they've killed him or he's dying and that general stands up with the star, that general with the beard, and he says, I was happy out there in space just floating and looking at the stars. And then he drops over dead. And it's like, what a perfect coda that it's not just a big dumb monster rampaging through. That one line Star was already a 10 for me before that line. It's an 11 now. That was so perfect.
And
I have to say, go ahead.
They captured him. They sat there, and how many years are they sitting there dissecting
30 years or something
at Starro? I was like, kill them all.
Yeah, well, he did. He killed most of them. but that is, are you telling me they could be like, in space, the rest of the Starros come. Here's your Suicide Squad Justice League team up. just a fucking army of Starros are coming to Earth, and they're like, oh my god, we need everyone. Like that could 100% be like the major DC movie if they just like, we're grabbing everyone from every project. We're going to get people from the TV shows. We're going to get people, the Green Lanterns from the HBO Max show. Like Starro was a legitimately fucking terrifying villain if they want him to be it. So like an army of Starros coming would be the great, and
like something out of Rebels. Like Rebels had that big
yeah. And they float around in the comics and in other media of exactly what getting the starfish on your face does. There are times where it just takes you over and it drops off when it dies. There are times where it kills you. So like there's enough leeway for a bunch of Starroed heroes to then be like a supervillain team or something.
Do you know what this
Starro
means? We might get Jarro.
Sure. I'd be super cool. Starro is there is so much potential to do more with Starro in another movie, like a big DC movie with all the characters.
And I have to say, it really lines up with when they first announced they were doing DC movies. You start thinking about, well, what would it look like on the screen? And of course, with it being the original Justice League villain, I have to say it really lined up with how I pictured it back in the day of, oh, well, if you did Starro, this is what it would be. Yeah. And it really lined up with it. And the one complaint I have is from the movie, there should have been one member of the Suicide Squad that made it all the way that then got a star on his face.
That then got it. Well, I actually almost thought Polka Dot Man was going to get Starroed. Well, and that would have been like a big fight against him. Well, he got crushed. he got Starroed by the big Starro, not the babies. When we were watching it, so Leanne has trypophobia, which is the fear of swarms and little dots. Are you guys aware of this?
Oh, good bumps. She was probably freaking out.
This is a real thing. So look this up. Trypophobia. It's a pretty common thing. When Starro like opens its armpit and all the Starro come about it, Leanne's like,
Hold on. Trypophobia is a fear or disgust of closely packed holes. People have queasy when they're looking at surfaces of small holes gathered close together. For example, the head of a lotus, a seed pod, or the body of a strawberry could trigger discomfort in somebody with this phobia. And they have like beehives and other things in there.
Yeah, and it's also like a little like swarms of stuff all kind of clumped together.
Small bumps, like everything together.
So when they all sort of come pouring, she's like, "Oh, big Starro is fine," and even like the starfish are fine. But
the scenes where they start pouring out, she's like
pouring out. She's like, "Ah!" She was like screaming. It's really not funny. I thought they were making fun of her, and she doesn't like it. She's terrified by it. But it was like,
I'm not terrified by it. I think it's disgusting.
It's disgusting. And definitely. It hit that audience.
Charlie, back me up on this because I'm going to guess you loved it as much as I did. When they first get into I forgot the name of the fortress now. Anyway.
Jotunheim.
Yes, that's right. And it goes up to the glass and you finally see the size of Starro because it's just one of those flippers comes up against the glass. And Capaldi turns around and goes, I'm not going to do an imitation because he was so great. Like a ringmaster at a circus. I call him Starro the Conqueror. And the way he delivers that line was just awesome. Yes. Oh, it was so great. Capaldi may be the low-key MVP of the whole movie.
Sure. No, he's a great
in a small amount.
Yeah, he's a great another bad guy. And like we said, I mean, I think that's one of the things that makes the movie work is you sort of progress from one to the next to the next. And Starro may be the largest, but maybe not the most evil of the bad guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is, I think something maybe we've not seen enough of in the DC movies, and that I think the Marvel movies have definitely had this with Guardians and a couple of the others, where the plot it doesn't have to absolutely be the best plot that's ever been made for a movie, but it is just such a fun collection of characters, and they do the characters justice, but they also have their own unique stories and spin. So. I think there's some room for improvement on some story beats and pacing and flow. So much of this movie, again, like Guardians, and Gunn's the right guy to do this. Apparently, is just, it is such a good collection of characters, and they're all very unique personalities, and the power sets are super unique across the board. And that's tough. It's tough to make you care about Ratcatcher 2, right? That is a tall order. It's easy to care about Batman and Superman and, Spider-Man and Captain America. Those are characters with, just very, core concepts that are easy for many people to get into.
Yeah.
But yeah, making Polka Dot Man a character that goes on a list of your favorite comic book characters is really really tough.
I bet,
but they do
really
a good job of it.
Have that action figure now, don't?
They did a good job with those figures. Yeah, Brock got the set of the McFarlane figures. So yeah, they're good. Yeah, they did a good job with those.
They also did a really great job the way his costume being so white is kind of dingy through the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
It really just kind of gives him this downtrodden thing. And he really, from the original run, he kind of reminds me of the Dr. Light character, which like the whole time everybody's like, you can't even beat the Teen Titans. You're a joke. And then he finally decides to stand up and he's like, look at me, I'm a hero. And then he immediately dies.
Yeah. Any last thoughts?
Okay.
I love
this is just me real quick.
Yeah.
Who puts an aquarium at the top of a building?
Oh, with King Shark.
Yeah,
it's still very fancy. It's it's like Island Nation military complex. They can do whatever they want. It's all experimental.
But who builds a giant fortress that's a tower in the middle of nowhere?
And names
remember everybody.
That is.
It just looks like a giant chimney.
It was all designed
stacks.
by Nazis, remember?
Yeah.
Right. Well,
All designed by Nazis.
That's lifted 100% from the first two issues of the original series. It's even called Jotunheim, and the only difference is it's attached to a cliff. But they couldn't. They couldn't.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It's an island nation.
Yeah, in the comics, yeah, there's like this whole cliff infrastructure thing that they're a part of, but no Starro. So yeah, they took that and then made it much bigger.
Yeah, right. The creatures, I was just like, what are they alien? Are they?
Yeah, what were those things?
Like,
the little sucker fish things.
Yeah, like
another experiment, I guess. Yeah, they don't really go into it.
So they're the Clydex, and there is no explanation. He just made them up.
So those amused me just because as soon as those came on the screen, like especially because the first one's like yellow and you see sort of the outline of it, she's like, it's like a swimming Pikachu. So
it's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, but they're like them turning like vicious. I was like, yeah, I saw that coming. Like,
yeah.
But I mean,
well, what do they say in Galaxy Quest? Haven't you ever watched this show? Anything that's cute ends up killing you.
So I guess let's actually do have one good question to wrap up here.
Only one? We only got
third Suicide Squad movie.
Oh hell yeah!
What would you like to see? They do another one. Where do they go? What do you think they could do? I want to start with Gage because you are again most of us have read the whole series or we've all read it, but you have a distinct memory of the comics. What would be a good later arc of the original run that would work with these movies and work in the DC universe by itself? Do you got anything?
I mean, given that they clearly have picked little bits from here and little bits from there, I don't think you could ever really take one of the storylines from the comics and be like, this is what we're going to present.
Yeah, but like how this plays off the first arc. Yeah.
Right. I mean, so I think what you would have to do and what all these movies are doing is you've been setting it up for a while. You've got to have them go up against the Justice League.
That's right. Exactly what. Prior to our Starro conversation, that was my thought anyway. That's where this has to go, right?
And one of the things that I thought they could have done when they were introducing these as a movie is instead of it having them be, going and finding out the government's been experimenting on Starro, is they're getting rumors of superhumans, and you make their powers similar, but you can't quite put your finger on it. So, like, you have a guy that appears to appear and disappear, but it turns out he's using super speed, but you just can't because the mind can't perceive it. And so then slowly you piece it together and you don't really reveal it all. And it turns out they've over time collected DNA of the Justice League and they've cloned, whether you want to make it the Crime Syndicate or you want to make them Bizarro, superheroes, whatever. And then you have the Justice League essentially versus the Suicide Squad. But now you've gone far enough where you could just flat out go with, they're going to be shut down by Batman and the Justice League or vice versa. And so, you manufacture a reason for the two to go head to head.
So I've got one that I want to see. And, James Gunn obviously would be a good choice. He's got an affinity to these type of characters. You don't need Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg to be the Justice League they go after. Wouldn't it make much more sense, both within the context of the comics and within the context of what James Gunn's going to do, that they go up against Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, Fire, Ice.
All comes back around.
Justice League International.
Isn't that like just up his alley? The comedy bits would make a ton of sense. You have expendable characters if you wanna sacrifice Nort to the land, to the slaughter or something like that. I mean, if you really, really want to go that far, but you introduce Guy Gardner through that. Introduce you have Captain Liberty is the guy that comes in later.
Ice, Captain Liberty.
Beetle.
Yeah, and you could
and then would you
have
do
a
Max
character
Lord as the anti-Amanda Waller?
That'd be really good.
Oh, because then you can turn him bad later.
Yep. I think that's because I think it's going to be tough to get the real Justice League. I don't think any of these actors are going to be in any movie going forward, short of Gal Gadot. So
Who's the black? Who's what? Oh, why am I thinking? It was in Superman and Authority. Oh shoot, Manhattan.
The new comic.
Yeah,
Manchester Black.
Black.
That'd be cool. I like Manchester Black a lot. Yeah, but I give me JLI. Give me JLI.
Honestly, I'm a little more interested to see if they keep up with the not settling on a team. I would love if they do go into a third one, and regardless if they go up against JLI and that kind of stuff, I'd like them to primarily not I have no problem with seeing King Shark in other DC movies and that kind of stuff. But I kind of like the idea of the Suicide Squad always changing out almost the entire lineup. Yeah. Maybe having one or two people hold over, but don't form this is the Suicide Squad team that you see in the Suicide Squad movies with one or two new people. I'd rather see it the other way around.
Yeah, I they could probably bring Idris Elba back, but again, maybe Harley. Obviously, she's a huge draw, but I can't imagine anyone else would really come back for any particular reason. Again, they're cool characters, but I don't expect too many of them will stick around. So, all right, that's Suicide Squad.
We're shorter than the movie.
Yeah, it happens. It's all right.
We got to have an after the outro. We need to have then one last thing where we come back in and talk.
Ryan, you need to explain the post-credits scene after.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That should give us another half.
That's
hour.
Okay. I'm just waiting for Toby to join right now.
I know. And have this 45-minute talk.
We didn't. What was your favorite scene in the movie?
Just in general.
What was your in general favorite scene in the movie? Honestly. For me, it was when Harley shot the prince, right? That whole scene to me just worked. It was fantastic. It worked. What do you guys?
I think I'm going to go with the nightclub. I'm going to go with the nightclub. Yeah.
little bit of disco, a little bit of dive bar, a little bit of what the hell are they getting into?
So I'm going to cheat and just say any scene with Peter Capaldi in it.
Well, he was in the nightclub, Charlie, so you win.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, again, as disappointed as I was with them killing Captain Boomerang, I mean, that scene of all of them getting slaughtered is exactly what you wanted in a Suicide Squad movie.
That's your favorite scene?
I don't think it's my favorite. I don't know if I really want to say it's my favorite scene, but that's what I was waiting for. Yeah, and it came very early.
Didn't have to wait long.
What I absolutely love about that scene is it works very well for setting up the Suicide Squad, but it also works very well is just like these are all the people James Gunn always feels the need to put into a movie
they're just
that
friends.
weren't going to be able to be in the whole movie.
James
So
Gunn
it's
doesn't
just
like his friends, basically. What he says. Like,
Well, no,
Or
his,
birds. He doesn't like birds either, apparently.
the Jennifer Holland, the actress who's at the control center, the blonde in Amanda Waller's team, that's his wife or his girlfriend. I'm not
Oh, really?
sure.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
No, my favorite scene.
I was glad to see
Starro.
they worked in the scene in the auditorium because that was always a big thing in almost all of them where they're all sitting
What-
around and talking.
What's
And then
getting the mission
question about
statement?
The overhead protector.
No, that was
Yes.
Mwah. What is that overhead protector? Do you use it? Not really. Then throw it out.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty good. I mean, I get called on a lot of not liking fun, right, and not liking funny movies. I liked it. It was funny. Most of the jokes
So your
landed
scene
for me.
isn't the first scene. Your scene is when Peacekeeper and Bloodsport are going up against each other, taking out all
Peacemaker?
the.
That was a really good scene too. Yeah, this was one of those movies that I thought that the humor worked, the characters worked. Right, I didn't feel like the humor was, like I said in the intro. The humor wasn't like this weird forced stuff that didn't really fit. I felt like it for the most part flowed okay, and it worked within the context of the scenes. And I love comedy. I love funny stuff. It's just there's not a lot of stuff. It's not very funny. That's a problem. And this worked. James Guardians balanced. What was so good about this and Guardians is he balances the serious and the ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really hard to do. And I felt like Guardians 2 really fell short with that. But this one, I don't think it does as well as Guardians. But Guardians and this, they both do a really good job.
So
So.
I have not seen reviews. I haven't seen anything for whatever reason. I've been
Incredibly positive.
really.
I believe it is the, I don't like Rotten Tomatoes, so I have not gone there myself personally, but I did see comments that it's the highest reviewed DCEU movie, I believe, even over Wonder Woman.
It falls in line with everything we've said. If it's not there, it's one of the top three.
So going first, I didn't know what any of you were going to say. I didn't know if anybody even liked it. And so I was like, am I going to be the one that likes this? And I'm going to have to defend myself against the
It's
merciless
not Man of
horde.
Steel.
Yeah, there was a couple of reviews in the podcast group, and maybe we'll get some reviews next week that we can read from people. But there was a couple of reviews that I know people didn't really like it, but I think they thought it was just not funny, or the I know Leanne thought it was like a B or B minus maybe. So she didn't think some of the jokes land, but overall, yeah. Oh, she's not listening to me; she's got her headphones on. But she liked it well enough.
She had a traumatic experience towards the end of the movie, so
That's why
for
she
her,
didn't like
she-
it.
her scene was she was going to turn the movie off if they killed the rat. So if they killed the rat, she was done.
oh yeah.
So
Yep. What was it? So I actually noticed this, and I really appreciated it, that all of the generic military people, weren't just cookie cutter. This is male fatigues. Like I actually liked that there was a.
Oh, they kill all sorts of women in this movie.
Yeah, there's women,
there are women commanders and
women commanders,
everybody.
women.
Porto Maltese has a very diverse background.
Yeah, so it's I like that. I was like, wow, that's awesome. It's really cool. It was really cool to see that. So, and does James Gunn have to have penis in every movie? Somewhere?
Did
Sure.
you have it in other movies?
Well, Drax says it blatantly.
Was it in the Guardians?
I mean, the only reference I could think of was the Jackson Pollock reference, but
Are you
No.
just looking for people to say that?
no, it's just
Do you have something to tell us?
no.
No, he's right. There was the scene when they're attacking the rebels.
Yeah,
Okay.
If you go back and watch it,
there was nothing sexualized about any of it. It was just oh, okay, cool. they're not, he's not going for that route, right? Which I really respected. It was just, everything was there. Like if nudity was in a scene, it was just, there was a half naked girl, or there was that guy getting ready and then he dies, right? Even the Harley sex scene is like all dress, and then the guy walks away like he's Nightwing with his butt, like. So
yeah, it was not gratuitous. It was
Yes.
just there, so, which is pretty uncommon for a movie.
did you ask the question, or did we answer the question? Did you have a question? Did we answer
No
it?
question. No, we're done.
Oh.
Thank you all very much. Scott, thank you for coming back. Gage, we'll have you on in less than 400 episodes, I'm sure.
I don't know. Maybe I have to double it. So 822 episodes.
That means we have to do 800.
We will definitely have you on for our Peacemaker wrap up. How about that? That'll be
Okay.
sometime
Well,
early
maybe
next
I can
year,
actually try and make it in. So that would also be a thing.
Hey, if you want a reoccurring guest, I'm all for it. Make sure that man has a schedule. Scott, we don't know your schedule, but make sure he has a schedule too.
Scott's problem is like he wakes up by the time we finish recording this podcast normally. So
I think last time I was on, we recorded something and I was off after about an hour. And so Ryan doesn't think I'm ever on the podcast.
Well, this is remote recording. We do start a little bit later, but it seems to work okay. Thank you all very much for listening to this episode, and thanks to our high tier backers on Patreon. That's Joe Duff, Craig Anderson at clearpathcoaches.com, Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum Podcast, Talon Bray, and our good friends over at 9panel.com. Don't forget to check out their site and buy some cool comic books from dealers and sellers all across the country. High end stuff too. Not just random single issues. Like, these are good comics. Don't forget to go to Comic Conspiracy ComicConspiracyPodcast.com, let's try this one more time. ComicConspiracyPodcast.com, Apple Podcast, and Spotify, where you can find all our episodes, including this one. If you want to listen to it again and you're just like, I'll just listen to this again for some reason, make sure you go to patreon.com/comicconspiracy to kick us a couple bucks if you would like. We're always available there for, do some, we have a Q&A thread you can post, and we'll always make sure to get your answers on our podcast. ComicsConspiracy.biz is where you can go to buy some physical comics from us for mail order, pick up at the shop. And don't forget to go to conspiratobrock.com. That's Brock's blog, pull list, videos, and unboxing videos. You can watch all this stuff over there. Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension podcast. That is Charlie's Doctor Who podcast. The weekly interview series called Between the Panels at fanbasepress.com. And go to leannehill.com for all of my wife Leanne's work, as well as etsy.com/shop/LeanneHillArt. Follow us on Twitter. I'm Ryan Higgins Ryan. Brock is Brock Sager. Charlie is Insanity and Chaos. Kevin is That Kevin Sharp. The store is Comics Con Store. Gage and Scott are very smart people and don't really use a lot of social media, so they stay off the nightmare that is that. Scott's on Twitter a little bit, but I don't think he ever uses it. Please check out our good friends over at Manga Machinations, and don't forget about me and Ryan Scott, Justin Haywald, and occasionally Adam Fitch over at the Geek Box every other week. We record twice monthly now, so make sure to check us out over there. All right, that's it. That's the podcast. We will see you guys next week.
Woo.